Before I get started with this article, I want to give a shout out to Melvin Raymond on Instagram for sending me this story that is coming out of Texas, where you have this doctor who was accused of groping 24 women in North Texas, who, after he's been put on a 2-year probation, he's allowed to practice again. Now, they actually have proof that this guy did what he did. Yet Bill Cosby went to jail for a number of years on hearsay, and he's instantly just demonized repeatedly. And if you look at this guy, you can clearly tell that this guy is of Asian descent. How far down the line, I'm not entirely sure, but you could definitely tell that he is. So I'm gonna go ahead and get into this article in this story and see what else they're gonna talk about. Women who reported they were sexually abused by a cardiologist in Weatherford said they felt betrayed after the Texas Medical Board gave him a slap on the hand in terms of discipline. Dennis Doan has been accused of sexually assaulting or harassing at least 24 women over a 5-year period at the Heart Center of North Texas. The Texas Medical Board determined Doan engaged in a pattern of unprofessional sexual misconduct with patients by groping, touching, or massaging their breast. On June 11th, the board handed down its discipline for Doan's action, 2 years of probation. The terms of Doan's probation prohibit him from practicing on or seeing female patients, although he can consult on cases, review records, and interpret medical tests. The medical board chose to protect one of their own over sending a message to doctors that you cannot do this, said Jan Williams, one of the 4 women who filed criminal charges against Doan. But they chose their own. I think their message says to doctors, hey, we can do this in the future, and we're just going to get our hands slapped. The Texas Medical Board did not respond to requests for comment. The criminal case against Doan began in 2018 when Sonny Woodall reported to Weatherford police that he had sexually abused her during an exam. During an appointment, Doan grabbed her chest and roughly massaged her breast, according to police testimony at a medical board hearing. As Doan massaged her breast, Woodall felt his erection on her side. Weatherford police put out a call to the public asking if anyone else had been abused by Doan. As of June 11th, medical board hearing, 24 women, some patients, and some co-workers reported that, too, had been sexually harassed or abused by Doan as far back as 2013. 4 women, including Williams, pursued criminal charges against the 46-year-old doctor. In December, Doan pled guilty to 1 count of violating the Medical Practice Act. He could not be charged with sexual assault because the groping the women described Doan did was not considered sexual assault in Texas at the time. Until September 2019, abuse had to include penetration of some kind to be considered sexual assault in Texas. Now look at that. You got to think, until 2019. So you mean to tell me it's been a whole bunch of creeps been running up and doing all kinds of stuff to people because it wasn't penetration up until, what, 2 years ago? That means there's probably a boatload of stories coming out of Texas. Doan agreed to a plea deal over the charges and received 2 years of probation. As a part of the plea deal, his criminal record will be cleared at the end of 2022. Williams, Woodall, and the other 2 women who filed criminal charges against Doan called the plea agreement an injustice, and now they say they feel betrayed by the Texas Medical Board as well. The Star-Telegram does not typically identify alleged victims of sexual abuse. The women identified in the story gave permission for their names to be used. Doan's attorney said in a statement that the plea bargain was the result of years of investigation. In the end, all allegations involving assaultive conduct and sexual impropriety were abandoned by the Parker County Attorney's Office. The statement from defense attorneys Christy Jack and Letty Martinez of the law firm Varghese Somerset said, once Doan completes his probation, there will be no finding of guilt. The case will be dismissed and he will not have a conviction on his record. Physicians across the country rarely have their licenses taken away after sexual misconduct accusations, according to data analyzed by the Public Citizen, a nonprofit advocacy group. Aza Abudaga, a researcher with the Public Citizens Health Research Group, said Doan's case is a typical example of physicians being given a second chance when they sexually abuse patients. In 2020, the group published a report analyzing discipline against doctors accused of sexual misconduct over a 15-year period. From 2003 to 2017, 1,354 doctors had their licenses officially flagged for sexual misconduct against patients, co-workers, or both. Of the 1,354 doctors, 38% continued to hold active licenses in the states where they were disciplined. Some of those physicians had their licenses restricted in some way, such as only seeing male patients for a period of time. Others had to undergo psychiatric evaluations or take a course on professional boundaries. An investigation from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution found 450 cases of doctors who were brought before the medical board for sexual misconduct or sex crimes in 2016 and 2017. Nearly half of those doctors kept their license to practice medicine. Even when doctors were criminally convicted like Doan, they often were allowed to continue to practice medicine. Stephanie Jones, another woman who pressed sexual assault charges against Doan after she says he fondled her during exams, says she felt disappointed and betrayed by the board's lenient discipline. I don't believe the medical board protects medical patients in the state of Texas. Too many times they've let these guys off, let them practice again. We have a doctor shortage, they say. That's not an excuse to let a predator continue to practice. The data on physician sexual abuse is difficult to obtain and incomplete. The reports used by Public Citizen came from the National Practitioners Data Bank, which is not available to the public. The database only includes physicians who were officially disciplined by a medical board for misconduct. There is no known database that tracks complaints made against physicians that do not result in disciplinary action, Abudaga explained. We only know the tip of the iceberg of the problem. Data on sexual abuse by doctors also doesn't capture the assaults that go unreported. The Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network estimates that fewer than 1 in 4 cases of sexual assault in the U.S. is reported to police. In the same month, Doan was officially disciplined by the Texas Medical Board. The board disciplined 3 other physicians on the basis of sexual misconduct investigations. A doctor in Houston was accused of sexually harassing a colleague and is now required to have a chaperone when seeing female patients. Some punishment. Another physician out of Florida voluntarily surrendered his license because he is under the investigation for sexual boundary violations. A third physician in Marshall, Texas voluntarily surrendered his license after 2 male patients alleged he touched them inappropriately. His license was restricted in 2020 after the first patient came forward. Jones and Williams said Doan massaged and fondled their breasts under the guise of medical care during the cardiology appointments. The shame they felt continues to follow them today. They worry when Doan is able to practice on patients again, more victims will trail in his wake. 4 women initially pressed criminal charges against Doan. Woodall Williams and 3 other women are also plaintiffs in a lawsuit against Doan in the Heart Center of North Texas. The Heart Center denied all claims of wrongdoing in a petition filed in a response to the suit. Only one patient, Pat Wagner, did not have her case against Doan dismissed. Wagner, age 78, said at an appointment in 2016, Doan pulled her shirt up to her chin, grabbed both of her breasts and asked, "Are you taking care of them?" according to her testimony for the lawsuit. Doan was initially charged with assault on the elderly in Wagner's case, but the charge was changed to violation of the Medical Practice Act in the plea deal. According to court transcripts, Doan denies that he touched anyone inappropriately or in a sexual way. He said he pled guilty to the violation of the Medical Practice Act according to a deposition for the lawsuit on April 22nd because he failed to explain to Wagner what he was doing in the course of his physical examination. When I used the stethoscope to examine Wagner, he said, according to the transcript, I inadvertently may have touched the edge of her breast when I listened to her heart sound, and she felt like that was offensive to her. He denied touching Williams or Jones' breast at all. To this day, he is still denying he has done anything wrong. As long as someone believes they are not guilty of what is being said, they'll continue with their wrongdoing. Doan's probation terms did not restrict him in any way from interacting with female co-workers, despite at least 7 women reporting Doan sexually harassed them when they were employed at the Heart Center of North Texas. Physicians who sexually abuse a patient often have other victims, sometimes hundreds over the course of decades. Former U.S. gymnastics doctor Larry Nassar made national headlines in 2016 when 200 girls and women came forward and accused him of abuse since the early 1990s. These physicians keep practicing for 20 or more years, Abudaga said, and they leave behind a trail of misery. They destroy the lives of many of their patients, and they go unpunished. According to Abudaga's report, of the 1,354 doctors who faced discipline due to sexual misconduct from 2003 to 2017, 221 of them had previous sexual misconduct reports made against them. And I'm gonna go ahead and just I'm gonna go ahead and end the article on that note, because then the next part just goes into a timeline. You know what? I'm gonna read the timeline. I already made it this far in the article. I might as well. Okay, 2000. It goes back to 2011. 2011, Dennis Doan is issued a medical license. In 2013, the first patient complains to the Heart Center of North Texas about inappropriate behavior from Doan. The following year, in 2014, Jan Williams first assaulted by Doan. 2017, Williams removes herself from Doan's care after 6 incidents of Doan giving her unnecessary breast exams. January 2018, or January 10th, 2018. Sonny Woodall says or has an appointment with Doan and says she is assaulted. 2 days later, Woodall reports the assault to Weatherford police. February 15th, 2018. Media outlets publish stories about Doan and ask additional victims to step forward. February 2018, Williams and Jones goes to the police. February 15th, 2018. Doan is arrested per criminal record and charged with assault. March 1st, 2018. Doan is temporarily suspended by the Texas Medical Board. June 14, 2019. 5 women filed a civil suit against the Heart Center of North Texas. December 2020. Doan pleads guilty to 1 count of violation of the Medical Practice Act. March 2021. Hearing for Doan scheduled by the Texas Medical Board is canceled, and in June 11, 2021, the Medical Board ratifies official discipline of Doan, 2 years of probation from this date, and makes discipline public. So this was a very loaded article right here, because not only did we get a glance at this guy's practices, so quote unquote, but we also got a scope into the fact that a lot of people in the medical field who are in his position or maybe even higher have been doing this stuff for years and have been getting away with it. And I'm not surprised, because you got to think these doctors are literally in a position where they can legally touch you in certain places, but you have to give consent that they can touch you there or whenever they're doing an examination. And also those numbers are crazy. Like so many have gotten away and will continue to get away with all the stuff in which they are doing and continue to do. Like this guy right here. Like they're literally letting a predator back to work. And not only was patients complaining, but also his coworkers was complaining. So you're literally not making it a good environment for patients and people who work there. And if they leave, it's going to be because they didn't do anything. And they said that he will be able to have this thing off of his record by the end of next year. And his probation will be when his probation is done, basically. And then this thing will be cleared away as if nothing happened. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments.